this very, very important webinar. So to our colleagues at Proudly SA, we thank you very much for your leadership in strengthening our economy by helping our enterprises to be more resilient, competitive, and sustainable. The work that you are doing is truly, truly commendable. And I see all our speakers have also joined. So I also like to say thank you to all our speakers for joining us. And I see there's also participants who keep on joining in their numbers. So thank you very much for taking your time out of your busy schedules for us to have this very important discussion. So today's discussion is coined Economic Outlook and Preemptive Strategic Look for Business, zooming into the green economy in South Africa. And as you know, the green economy is very critical because currently, as a country, we are facing a lot of pressure. Our economy is under immense pressure from global shift, with the Trump administration. There's a lot happening. The climate change, which is amongst us, the local structural challenges that we are also facing. And within those challenges, the green economy remains something to look into in terms of opportunities. It remains a low-hanging opportunity that our entrepreneurs, our businesses can look into. So our aim here today is to explore, how business, small, medium, large, can anticipate the risks and leverage opportunities and integrate sustainability onto their strategies. So, so this session, we plan to bring the perspectives from Proudly SA, our main host, of course, and our financiers. We also plan to bring our green innovators, into this discussion, spotting the light, particularly on waste management and circular economy, as this is a key driver for sustainable growth. So just a few housekeeping notes. We are streaming live on X at Proudly SA. We are also streaming live on Facebook. So on Proudly South Africa. So on Facebook, we are Proudly South Africa. And on Instagram, it's proudly.sa. And our hashtag is loved here, made here. So it's got a very nice ring to it. Loved here, made here. So it's hashtag loved here, made here. Thank you very much. So also, I would like to also indicate as part of the housekeeping for you to kindly keep yourself muted unless you're on the platform. We will open up the platform for Q&As. We will also allow each speaker to also answer some few questions after they finish presenting. So just to kickstart, we are joined by Ms. Logan. She is a member manager at Proudly SA, who will share more about Proudly SA's mandate and its market access platform, which I think was recently launched. So Madam Logan, I will hand the platform to you.
Thank you so much, Chair. Good day to all. Thank you for having me today. I would like to take you through the membership presentation, just to give you an overview of Proudly South African, what it takes to become a member, and the associated benefits. Speaker, just asking if you are able to see the presentation.
We can definitely see it.
Thank you so much. Okay, colleagues, just to give you a little bit of a background on Proudly South African, and also to make sure that you are not confusing us with Brand South Africa. So Proudly South African is the country's national buy local campaign. So we are mandated to influence local purchase. So we use the public sector, the private sector, and the general consumer, and we advocate to them to make that local purchasing decision. Now, Proudly South African does this in order to create much needed jobs in the country. In a nutshell, it is there to grow the economy, to grow the individual businesses that are member companies, and in turn to both create jobs and to sustain jobs. Now, if you look at it, Proudly South African was created by NEDLAC in 2011, and we are funded by the DTIC. So by way of, us being created and funded, we do have quite a large public sector, sort of view and plan. And of course, Proudly South African is guided by four key criteria in order to advocate for localization. So what we do is we do preferential procurement in the public sector. By this I mean that once you become a Proudly South African member, you are added onto the CSD, of course, with your permission. And should you apply for a tender, all public sector officials or procurement managers are able to see by way of the use of the logo that you are a vetted Proudly South African member. Then, of course, we have consumer education and the general public. We ensure that the general public knows how to find a Proudly South African product, whether it be in a mall, retail, wholesale, even B2B. Consumer education and the private sector, we work with officials, procurement officials and buyers to ensure that they make that local purchasing decision, whether they are a corporate, whether they are a retail buyer or a wholesale buyer. They actually make that local purchasing decision where they buy local in order to afford companies access to markets. And then, of course, we promote accessibility of locally made products and services, because once you are a member, you give us your list of products and we ensure that goes into a database that confirms that, here are locally manufactured products. And this is to make sure that the economy stays growing with products that are manufactured here. Hence the hashtag loved here, made here. So, why do we, what is it that we do, or why do we do what we do? And why is there need for a localization, advocacy? So basically what we're doing, as I've confirmed, we are, our hashtag says buy local to create jobs. So ideally what we're doing is we're retaining jobs and we're creating much needed jobs in a country where the unemployment rate is extremely high. So the creation of jobs is absolutely integral to the growing of the economy. Skills development, in terms of our social political past, we do come from a previously disadvantaged past. So we're trying our best to ensure that skills, the skills of people are developed, but in an inclusive manner. So, Black women in business, previously disadvantaged people, people that are otherwise unable, abled, So we are really there to create skills, but inclusively. And of course, once you grow your economy and you choose to be self-reliant, you are developing the economy. So economic development is very important, and directly aligned to skills development as well as job creation. Of course, empowerment and improved living standards. The more jobs we create, the better we are able to equip people to improve their living standards and to, instill dignity in people that have, come into jobs. Of course, infrastructure development. The more we manufacture, the more we develop the economy, because when you manufacture, you build warehouses, you build manufacturing concerns. you create dispatching, you logistics, all of those things that allow you to create much needed infrastructure in the economy. And of course, once you become self-reliant and you rely more on South Africa, and you develop the economy at home, and you export more than you import, you increase the GDP of the country, and of course you balance off the trade. So ideally, that is the reasons that we are advocating for localization in order to grow the economy, balance off the trade, and create much needed jobs in the South African market. If we look at the structure of Proudly South African, we are a membership-based campaign. And the reason we are a membership-based campaign is because the logo that you see on your screen is basically, it's directly owned and trademarked to Proudly South African. So we need to make sure that the logo, when we allow you to use the logo, that the logo is used correctly and you meet all the criteria that Proudly South African requires of you before we allow you to use the logo. So in terms of the vetting process, we take you through 4 key criteria, and that is local content, quality, fair labor practices, and environmental standards. Now, if we look at each one individually, local content is so important because we are a buy local campaign. So we have to make sure that any company that comes on board as a manufacturer or a service provider has been vetted for local content. So ideally, we would like for you to have 100% local content. But we understand that across 26 different sectors, that is not always possible. So in cases where you need raw materials from abroad, we allow you to come on board if you have 50% or more of your product manufactured within the borders of South Africa. So what do I mean by that? Your final cost of production has to be 50% or more, as opposed to you bringing a product to South Africa and just repackaging it. That is not local content. Local content is where 50% or more of your final product is manufactured here, or the final cost of production is incurred within the borders of South Africa. Then you have quality. Quality is very important because we need to make sure that if a product says it is proudly South African and it is made for consumption, or if it's made for the use of, on your skin. So whether a human or an animal consumes it, we need to make sure that any product that we onboard has gone through the relevant testing processes, has got ISO certifications, or some level of quality that we can onboard. Fair labor practices, of course, when we say buy local to create jobs, we mean whoever you are buying from, they must meet the criteria of abiding by the labor practices of the country. You cannot be a sweatshop and then sell product and then be proudly South African. We need to make sure that you meet your HR policies are in line with the labor practices of the country. And then, of course, environmental standards. It's so important because, say if you are a furniture manufacturer, or you're a manufacturer using wood or something within the environment, you have to have your environmental policies in place, because what you take from the earth, we hope that you are putting back, so that we create a circular environment or economy whereby we do not deplete our own resources. So that, in a nutshell, is how we vet for Proudly South African membership. And of course, we do ask you for supporting documents like your CIPC document, your VAT reg document, and your company profile. These supporting documents just help us, create a file for you and guide us on, your sector, and whether you are legally, whether you have a legal entity, whether you are a legal entity and you're able to sell in South Africa. So once we have all those documentation, a consultant will then review, and if all the documentation is in place, it takes literally 24 hours to approve you and onboard you as a member company. Of course, with any membership, one of the key criteria for membership is to have benefits that help a business or a company to grow and really access the market. So we have a multitude of benefits within the membership department, and these benefits are then given to you, but also within sectors, each sort of or type of benefit would be different. One of the main key criteria or benefits we give to you is the use of the Proudly South African logo. Now, this logo, as I said to you, is a recognized endorsement of local content as well as quality. And this logo is then given to you, and we, hand you over the logo to use on your marketing collateral, business collateral, and in, your product. But also we give you a CI manual so that your designer is able to look at the CI manual and use the logo or apply the logo accordingly. Access to market platforms. I think Proudly South African, outside of we're not just an advocacy campaign, we actually an access to market campaign as well, because we really do take our member companies to market in various different manners. And one of the ways we do so is first-hand access to tender opportunities that are designated for local content by the DTIC. So once you are a member, recognition as a member or a local manufacturer or service provider, on the National Treasury Central Supplier Database, you stand out to procurement officials because the logo is placed next to your name, and these procurement officials are able to understand or see that you are, in fact, a vetted Proudly South African member. Now, please note, this is a benefit where you gain first-hand access to tenders, and the fact that you are a member means that you look favorable to procurement officials, but we in no way does Proudly South African award tenders. So the benefit is really the first-hand access and the ability to show that you are a member, not awarding of tenders. Then, of course, consumer focused. We have an e-commerce site and we have an e-commerce division. Our e-commerce site is there to have our member companies access this market, whereby you are able to list on our site and you are able to sell your product off our site. Now, we do have an e-commerce division, and that division is able to assist you to list your product on our e-commerce site and then to sell off. Of course, we don't end just here with e-commerce. We also have, we've created other access to market opportunities within e-commerce by way of partnership with the likes of Takealot, Zulzi, Macro Marketplace, Made by Artisans, BizMed, just to name a few. And you are able to list onto these sites and sell off these sites as well. So e-commerce is quite wide in terms of range, because we have everyone from ourselves to Takealot to Macro to Zulzi, and that's quite large and very much assisting in terms of access to market for our members. Then, of course, we have a robust marketing department made up of brand, PR, and events. So these different divisions assist membership and vice versa to actually take our member companies to market and to favorably or positively showcase them and to showcase their ability. And then, of course, whether it be at events, whether it be at trade shows, whether it be in B2B opportunities, our marketing department is there to work with membership to actually showcase you and to help you gain access to markets. Of course, we also have an ESD benefit, and I'll talk to this directly when I speak about our buy local campaign. So our ESD benefits, so if you are a corporate company and you have ESD companies, we are able to onboard those ESD companies onto the campaign and then take them to market. A lot of our ESD companies this year was at our Buy Local Summit and Expo. They showcased their products. They met over 1,000 retail buyers, and they are on their way to possibly, listing in retail. So the ESD benefit, that's quite a large benefit because we literally take, ESD companies to market, whether it be exhibitions, the Buy Local Summit and Expo, and various trade shows, various B2B introductions. So ESD, and I know a lot of the companies need this benefit because ESD is top of mind to be able to take them to market and guide them to create financial opportunities for them. Then, of course, we have the MAP program.
Madam Alicia, I will
Yes.
need the next speaker's time is they have to leave at quarter to 3. So do you mind just pausing, and then as soon as they've given their presentation, and then you can then resume, because I think this what you're presenting is very, very valuable for our enterprises, and I don't really want them to miss out on the opportunity to really get all the detail of the presentation. Can we please just pause here for now? Then we will allow you again the platform once the next speaker has presented, because they have an urgent meeting that they must attend to. Is that okay?
Okay, that's fine. I've stopped sharing, so you can introduce the next speaker. I'll mute.
Thank you so much for your understanding. So I would like to welcome Mr. Mpete Tau. He's the Business Development Executive at the IDF Capital. So he will highlight on IDF services and share practical advice on how businesses can navigate today's economic challenges. So over to you, Tate.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Mpete Tau. I'm from IDF Capital, and IDF Capital is a Black-owned fund management company that specializes in managing funds, especially ESD funds. We currently we've had a couple of ESD funds that we've managed in the past, but I will only talk about what is relevant for today, which is an active fund called BUSA Fund. So this is a short-term fund that funds from 250,000 to 5 million in a form of debt. It's over a 12-month period. The expectation from the fund is that we assist businesses that come across transactions such as purchase orders, invoice discounting, working capital, bridging finance, or contract finance. And these businesses would be in rural areas, peri-urban areas, or townships. And if they're not doing work in any of those three places, they should at least be based in those three places. We fund all industries except what we call SIN industries. And this is nationally. The fund just started this year, and we still have a couple of more years to go with the fund. And that's about what we have with the fund. Thank you. Thank you, Nkensani.
Thank you very much. Oh, that was quick. Expected a long presentation. I think also because you're gonna leave after this, I will open the floor for questions about the fund. So the floor is open. I don't know if the technical team can assist us. I will be taking hands, and also you are welcome to post your questions as well on the chat box. Untate is here to answer all your questions concerning the access to funds that he's just presented.
And can I just add one more thing? If anybody, let's say, wants to clarify a few things post this session, we are reachable on info@idf.co.za.
I see one hand. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So just to IDF Capital, I would like to know, because this is a question that has come up from all our member companies that were interested in the fund. When you do a purchase order funding, do you need, or does the company that is wanting the purchase order funding, do they need to change their bank account to an IDF Capital bank account? If so, which bank is that and how does that work?
No, they don't have to change their banking details.
Mm-hmm.
The payment can be done in a form of a debit order, or there can be an escrow account that is opened. It's really entirely up to the client to decide on which method of payment they prefer, and we do it through GPay.
You pay. Okay, so I think the question came about because a lot of the companies that asked, they into Pick and Pay and Spar and that, and so those companies, it's very difficult to change their bank account because those companies forever will pay into those accounts. So they wanted to go ahead with the funding, just wanting to know that their bank account stays the same.
Their bank accounts will stay the same.
Okay.
Nothing that we will not change their bank accounts.
All right. And then just the last question from me, in terms of, so that's purchase order funding. And in terms of funding, like for a company just in general, for them to be able to say access market or take their product to DCs and stuff, is it something that you do as well?
On a short-term finance, not. It's only done on equity transactions. And currently, we are not transacting on any equity transactions, but it is something that is done if we do equity transactions, yes.
All right, lovely. Thank you so much. I'm answered.
Yeah, I didn't mention it because it's not suitable for this type of
yes,
platform.
Of course. That makes sense. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alicia.
I'm not seeing more hands, guys, and that Mpete is going to leave us soon. So I would encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity to engage with him while he's still here. I think we still have a good 10 minutes with him, and I think it's a great opportunity for you guys. I see Sipati Molefe's hand is up. Sipati, the platform is yours. Sipati.
Chair, I just wanted to say there's a lot of questions in the chat box. I'm not sure if you're able to access it. I think there's about 8 questions there.
I'm unable to look to see anything on the chat box. Do you mind, Alicia, reading out the questions for us? Because mine is blank. I don't know why.
No problem. Okay, one of the questions says, do you have IDF fund startups? So they're asking, is IDF Capital able to fund startup businesses?
No, we do not fund startups.
All right. So the answer is simple. No, the IDF does not fund startups. What's the period when you mention short-term finance?
The period is 24 months for the short-term finance. So if a client is, let's say, is funded for a PO, as an example, they get to repay the funds over 24 months maximum.
All right. What is the percentage charged on PO finance?
The percentage can go as low as 2.5%, where we have all the merits of the transaction. So a typical example would be if there's it's just a sourcing and supply transaction, and there's no execution risk or anything like that. But every transaction has its own merits. And of course, you can't look at, you would have to look at transactions individually to come to a sound decision.
All right.
That's
If I understand you correctly, this is not part of the question, but maybe they'll ask me, so I'd rather ask you. Are you saying that the lower amounts is when it's literally a company asking you to procure them something and sell it to them, then it's a lower amount. But when a company is actually manufacturing, then it could be a higher amount just because there's a ability to have risk there.
when you say amount, are you referring to the risk, the percentage? Yes.
Percentage. Yes.
So the less the risk, the less the percentage, the interest.
Percentage. That makes sense. The next question, is there a cap on the percentage in terms of how high it can go? Example, 10%, 15, 20. Is there a cap on the percentage for PO funding?
I would say 10%.
You'll say 10%. Okay. For PO funding, other than having a compliant company, when I say compliant, I mean, SARS, CIPC, and a credible PO, are there any other prerequisites?
Yes, there are. And I can share that the office can share that with Proudly South Africa on
Yes.
a different platform from this one. Would that be okay?
That's perfect. So what I'm going to say to the guest on the call is to send me an email, and once IDF Capital sends it to me, I'll send it off to them.
Thank you, Alicia.
Thank you so much. And then we have the last question. Do we apply for the funding with IDF Capital via Proudly South African, or is there a direct line to IDF Capital?
There's a direct line to IDF Capital, which is info@idf.co.za, or the website. There's a link. The website is www.idf.co.za.
So I'm going to put it here. It's www.idf.co.za.
Yes, ma'am.
And it's info@idf.co.za.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I've sent it out to all on the call. And I think, let me just see. Oh, one last question. Do you have cover for properties for student accommodation?
We do not do that. We do not fund student accommodation with this type of fund.
Yeah, I get it. Also, in terms of the timeline and the amounts given, it doesn't make sense to cover properties.
Yeah, commercial properties usually need about 10 years to repay.
10 to 15 years and to repay, and the margins are huge. Yeah, I mean,
this is strictly for short-term finance.
Short-term finance. Okay. And then, it just keeps coming. I think, do you fund, yes, of course. So I think I know the answer to this. They asked, do you fund companies outside of outside of Proudly South African, because we are not a member? And the simple answer is yes. I think the only reason IDF Capital would be on the call is because they're a member company. So it's nice to showcase their offering to you. But yes, if you're not a member, they can still look into funding you. That doesn't affect it at all.
Correct.
Okay, that's all of your questions. Thank you so much for that. And then just if you can send me the details, I'll send it on to the people on the call.
And if it's possible, any additional questions post this conversation, can you please send them to info@idf.co.za?
Yes, that's a good idea. Then you'll get a direct response from IDF Capital.
Yes, we would like to do that.
Perfect. That's it, Chair. That's all the questions we've had.
Thank you very much, Ms. Logan. I think you can,
We're still here, Chair, until if
oh yes, oh
14:45.
wonderful. Yes,
Um,
yes. So is
any further
there
questions
any, yes, further questions, please?
or clarification, maybe?
Yes.
We try to keep it simple to avoid confusion, just so that because it's exactly what we presented is exactly what we do to avoid confusion.
Someone asked, what's the turnaround time for submissions? So I'm not sure if they are talking about submissions of applications for the
Yes,
fund.
it's probably that. So the turnaround time ranges between 10 days to 4 weeks. It all depends on a lot of things, let me put it that way. If the client submits all the information that the compliance office requires, it can take a very short time. But if there's some stuff missing and they are submitted 3-4 weeks later, that's how long the transaction will take.
Great. Someone is asking, do you require collateral for PO funding?
It depends on the risk of that PO, of that funding, of that PO or the contract.
Okay.
Right. Colleagues, can I ask a question, please, to IDF Capital, just in terms of, so say, for instance, I think, with PO funding, once you get a PO, the company wants their goods ASAP. So 4 weeks would be a bit long. Do you think that a company or member company can then start their process without having a PO? So that you can look into their details. And when they have a PO, then give it to you. And then the process is a bit faster because you've already done their background.
That would be ideal. Thank you. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Just just to emphasize on something. We don't take 4 weeks. We take a minimum of 10 days to 4 weeks.
Wow, that's a quick turnaround.
This is the 10 days is where everybody is in an ideal situation where the funder has everything, all the information, and vice versa.
Okay, so I think we've exhausted all the questions, and you are on time for your next meeting. So I would just like to thank you, Mr. Mpete, for sharing nuggets of really valuable info that our SMMEs and that can use, and so yes, so as we usher you out, we just want to say thank you so much for participating and for sharing, and also for sharing your contact details, and I hope the participants have also noted how they can get hold of you. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Kensani, for hosting IDF Capital. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Madam Alicia, as promised, you can resume, ma'am, with your presentation to conclude it before we allow the next participant.
Okay, the presentation is visible, right?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Okay, colleagues. So in terms of where I left off, we were talking about MAP, Market Access Platform. We've launched MAP, and the launch was absolutely amazing. And we have, I think, about 1,800 of our member companies on the MAP program or platform. Now, MAP stands for Market Access Platform, and we have over 1,800 companies, member companies already listed on the platform, with us looking at, seeing up, 2,000 to 3,000 members listing on there. Not all of our member companies are listed on there because some, are government, some are service agencies, and ideally it's for manufacturing companies. Of course, we do also allow service companies, but yes, so there's a large number of companies already enlisted on MAP, and then the program seeks to have buyers find suppliers, exactly like you would find in a procurement site, whereby you are able to look at companies that supply the product you wish to purchase. So we are hoping that this site, from a private sector, because CSD is public, so MAP on a private sector does really well because you are able as a buyer to come onto the site and find suppliers. And Proudly South African has amazing suppliers in every one of the 26 different sectors that we track. So MAP seeks to really transform the private sector, whereby we ensure that the private sector is actually buying local. And then, of course, in terms of benefits, I did say that we host the Proudly SA's flagship event, the Buy Local Summit and Expo. So it's really about accessing markets, allowing the private sector as well as the public sector to come and look at our 200 plus exhibitors that are member companies and really take them to market, list their products into retail, wholesale, and really take them to market and grow their business. And then, of course, we have national and international trade shows. As I've alluded, we have a robust marketing department, and our events department is able to take our member companies to various, local shows or local exhibitions, because they want to be able to showcase your product within the sector so that you can gain much needed access to market. And then, of course, we do have, that is basically the membership fee structure. And then just a little bit about what people are saying about us. We have everyone from South African breweries to Chepa, to Goodyear, Kimberly-Clark, really talking about Proudly South African in the most positive light, because we have positively influenced their business, and we have created, whether it be access to market or, introduce them to buyers or showcase them at our Buy Local Summit. We really push the envelope when it comes to showcasing our member companies to the market. So people are saying amazing things about us here. You'll see Hisense, Misty Candles, Mamuka plastic mats, and just a look at the various events that Proudly South African takes their member companies to. Kota King, all of the top, you will see that is the DSTV Delicious. The mid-level, that is the Buy Local Summit and Expo. The bottom is the Local Wine Show. And of course, so from Buy Local Summit to Local Wine to DSTV Delicious to Decorex to Mining Indaba, Manufacturing Indaba, just to name a few of the large events that we take our member companies to. And we do not charge any additional fee to your membership fee, because the aim is really to take you to market, to showcase you positively, and to create much needed jobs in the local economy. For some reason, I don't know if this is playing. Chair, I don't know if this is playing. Are you able to hear it?
It's playing, but there's no sound.
No sound, hey? Okay, now that's fine. So I think I'll leave it there.
Yeah.
That's basically it from a Proudly South African perspective, and I'm happy to answer any questions the colleagues may have.
So we will pause a bit on the questions. We will have a session immediately after the next speaker, where we're going to engage a little bit more with regard to Proudly South African and what you do. Let me thank you, Alicia, for that very, very comprehensive presentation. and most importantly, on market access, because that is really the lifeblood of a thriving business, you know. So, and it's so amazing to know that, you know, you provide the turnkey solution for our businesses. And so with those words, thank you very much. We will open it up for Q&A soon as the next speaker has spoken. So now we turn to the green economy in practice. It is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Kamuchirai Motenzo, who is the founder of Madam Waste. She's also pioneering innovative approaches to waste management and circular economy solutions. So in her session, she will speak to us about her journey, you know, as a green entrepreneur, and she will definitely, you know, present to us some case studies of the best practices, what she's learned, and give us some reflection. So, Dr. Kamushirai, the platform is yours.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. It's always a treat to speak to people about the green economy and tell you how awesome aspects such as waste management are, because it really is that awesome. Over the next 20 odd minutes, I'll take you through, as Kinsani mentioned, what we do and how we complement this exciting space. And part of these activities and platforms of this nature is to really encourage the audience, the listeners, to think differently about the decisions they make at home, think differently about the decisions you make at your workplaces and beyond. Because at the end of the day, everything that is green, irrespective of the sector that you are in, we all have some sort of role to play in. All right, so I'm going to showcase some opportunities to valorize specifically waste. Waste is that cousin, you know, that cousin that you always look at from our family, like, hey, yeah, that is unfortunately the perspective that we've always grown up with. You know, it's not a sexy word, it's not trending on TikTok and Instagram and all of that stuff. Yet, for as long as you and I are alive, we will continue to produce various types of waste material. Question is it really waste and can it be disposed? And so I'll look at one of the streams, which is specifically organic waste, just to show you that you think differently and see opportunities rather than it being that cousin who you don't want to hang out with. Okay. To set the tone, I'll paint two pictures. I saw this trend a while back of how it started and how it's going. So I'm going to take a similar approach because the how it started, it sets the tone for those who may not be privy to the waste sector and how we got to the stage that we're at as Madam Waste, and then how it is going. We'll then get into the demonstration activities that are currently underway. All right. So some of you may come across various literature, whether it's on LinkedIn or it is on some news channel about how our wonderful continent is rapidly urbanizing. And with this rapid urbanization comes some issues that link to waste as well as energy provision. Now, the beauty about this wonderful thing called waste is that it can actually turn into new products. And so if we look at our cities, and this urbanization, where does all of this waste go? We can't keep writing reports and having interviews about increasing. At some point, is it increasing in a developmental way? Is it increasing in a way that ensures our cities continue to be aerated, smell good, to look good in the whole 9 yards? There should be a different story to tell along those lines. And we should also have a different set of stats to mention that, yes, there is an increase in waste generation, but at the same time, there's equally an increase in jobs that are created across the waste value chain. There's an increase of activities, entrepreneurial activities along the energy generation. And that's the beauty that waste has to offer. So you can create new products such as compost, biogas, briquettes, and also the energy component, the power component, because you can convert that biogas into electricity. And so you start painting a different picture. And this for me has been, I would say, a calling. It's what I live, it's what I breathe. I love what I do. I love it. I love it. I love it. To an extent where, from an academic perspective, I made sure that the content that one is acquiring from our academic institutions does not sit and gather dust. It aims to inform business, it aims to inform innovations and open up those market opportunities. So, two key outputs that have complemented and also guided what Madam Waste is today were, firstly, on your left side, a book chapter that looked at opportunities to increase what we call material recycling facilities in African cities. So for some of you, you may know this as buyback centers, where the waste collectors, informal reclaimers, take the material to separate further, as well as make a living out of. So those buyback centers can be bigger and be dubbed rather as material recycling facilities. You can also look at components of organics, of metal waste, of cans, of glass, whatever it is that is separatable. There is some sort of value that can be obtained. And so that's what this book chapter aimed to showcase, and it informed the strategic consulting service that we offer in the building. Well, yes, that's what we offer in the building. Then on the right side, this was the doctoral dissertation, which was very intentional about decentralizing waste management in our cities, specifically from a biogas perspective, hence the dubbed urban biogas systems. Because when you look at this technology called anaerobic digestion, it promotes circularity. So all the material flow, this organic material flow that comes into a city, if it goes to a material recycling facility, we've separated it. And once we've separated, now we know, okay, we can actually generate biogas from it. So in peri-urban areas where electricity access is a pain point, or even in residential developments, you can enjoy either the biogas itself or the energy component itself, and that becomes those exciting opportunities. So this is how intentional one has been to tell of the beautiful story of organics. Right. And so at the end of the day, I've already touched on some of these opportunities, that there's certainly a opportunity for what we'd call urban energy planning. And that's a new discipline that can evolve within the town and regional planning space. That is a new discipline that can also evolve from an engineering space, because now we are intentional about the resources we have which can generate energy. And just to let you know, anaerobic digestion is just one of many technologies under the bigger umbrella known as waste to energy. So you have things such as gasification, pyrolysis, da 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 da. It's now about the type of waste that you have, the quality and the quantity, because that informs what can be done with it, the byproduct that can come out of it. And that leads to, as indicated earlier, decentralizing energy access. So the beauty with such things is you can have a little biogas system, even in your home. 4 to 6 individuals, you produce different types of food waste on a daily basis, whether it's food waste that is rot or leftovers. You can have the biogas ensuring the cooking continues. So that circular component, you will have solar to ensure that a few appliances are held down, then you can still have the traditional grid connection. So that hybrid system is what a waste to energy opportunity offers. So at the end of the day, what one is saying is see the circular opportunities of what being intentional with waste diversion and waste separation has to offer. I hope the questions and the mindset is cooking. I look forward to that segment. Okay. So for those of you who may not be familiar with the term circular economy, sincerely speaking, it is nothing new under the sun. It has come back now because we have to be intentional with our backyard. And so this butterfly diagram is one of the most commonly used images of what does circularity look like? Where does it fit in? So you've got two components to it. You've got the biological side and the technical side. So where we fit in as Madam Waste is on the biological side, because that's where we are dealing with anaerobic digestion and composting, as well as the biogas element. And that feeds into agriculture at the end of the day, because of the soil health that comes with it. And from the same agriculture as well, you still get agro waste, which we can process. So the journey continues. The technical side is now looking at things such as redesign, remanufacture, reconfiguring. So you're looking at the way we maintain machines or even textile industry. So upcycling of various clothing items or furniture or even devices that are now being used as pieces of art, metal that has been extracted at a material recycling facility. So it opens up these feedstock for artisans to be creative and make beautiful things that we can enjoy in our home decor. So as you go back into your office seat or as you go back home, just start to think of everything that you are touching, everything that you are using. Are you taking it straight into the black bin and it ends up in some landfill that's already full? Or is this something that you can actually make a new product out of? That pair of jeans, which has 3, 4 little holes, is it really, really the end of life for this pair of jeans? Or you're going to be intentional and look out for small, medium enterprises that are being creative with textile redesign and remanufacturing? Right. Now, how it is going. Madam Waste has been operating for the past almost 9 years now. Yeah, it's been operating for more or less than 9 years. And one of the service offerings that we started with was the strategic consulting. And here we focused on components of urban energy waste planning. There were opportunities for us, mainly from regional agencies, because they could see the vision of what we want to do for African cities. And so we had an opportunity to prepare this review of biogas demonstration projects in Southern Africa for UNIDO. Because at the end of the day, one needed to understand where are the biogas systems? Who are the entrepreneurs in the space? Who are the big players in the space? Is it going right? Is it going left? What's going on? Because clearly, I mean, really, we keep saying there's so much organics, but what must happen? What is going on? So this was one of the, I suppose, most impactful pieces of work that we did because it also gave us as a service provider a wonderful opportunity to reflect on, okay, status quo 1212. Where can we raise our hand? And as our president says, Tumamina, where can we play our part? We've had the wonderful opportunity to appreciate the status quo, but clearly it shouldn't just end there. If we can contribute to it, why not? And that's then how that strategic component started to evolve over time. But when we realized that the recommendations we were offering to municipalities, to farmers and whatnot, the client would appreciate the recommendation, like, yeah, it's very good, it's very good, it's very good. But implementing was a different story. And implementing somewhat meant a mindset shift, somewhat being able to see something that you can relate to. So there are 1 or 2 spaces that one can go and see big technologies on a large scale right here on this continent. At the same time, it's not always relatable because it's so big and then all the monies that are spoken of is put like 17 zeros at the end and you just like, okay, I get what you want me to do. I get that, yes, I can practice technical circularity. I get that I can practice biological, but I can't relate. So we added another offering, which is the podcast. So the podcasts were really curated to ensure that we have really simple, good conversations about what are these topics we're discussing. Let's break it down. Because the more you understand and see things from a different perspective, some relatability comes with it. And once we're able to relate, you can start to see your proposed project, your recommendations as a potential project that can have its own budget. Da, 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 da. So we're working then towards those documents becoming implementable. So it's called Not Wasting a Single Story. And one is happy to say that with all the guests we've had, that level of exposure has also indirectly assisted them in ensuring that their clientele or the communities that they work with can actually see themselves implementing the different innovations around waste beneficiation. But again, something was just not enough. Something was amiss. Right. Raise our hand, we said to Mamina. We then set up our waste valorization demonstration site. It is located in Tshwane at Irene at the Agricultural Research Council. Now let me speak as an entrepreneur. One person said passion will be your death. Passion will kill you. We had to now think as a business. Okay, not a consulting, not a thought leadership platform, as a business. Because in showcasing circular technologies, you also need to run it like a business so that you can show people that it is possible to run a business within the green economy. It's not just ticking boxes as an, okay, you meet this criteria, that. But this business should be able to live beyond 2 years and not become a statistic. We started thinking, right, what technologies can we implement on a small scale such that when people come through, they can relate, they can appreciate, they can see themselves implementing this. So we picked two. We picked a small-scale biogas system as well as a 24-hour in-vessel composter. Right. So compost, traditionally, nature does her thing over a period of 3 months. So that's when you dig a hole outside your back garden and all your food scraps, chuck them in, close it, and every now and again, whether you turn it or you just leave it as is, nature will do her thing. But the one that we have is a machine that can actually convert that material into compost in a short space of time. And that machine is meant for more of your medium to large scale energy, or rather waste generating companies. For example, if you are in agro processing, right, let me just use so and so juice manufacturers. So you would have a lot of feedstock coming in terms of fruit or vegetables that you use for juicing. The pulp, where does it go? So it would typically be put in that machine and processed into compost, or it can be utilized as feedstock for biogas. So as I mentioned earlier, you can also do other products such as briquettes, which is a cousin to charcoal, just less type of cousin. We set this up in August 2024, and the experience of doing that has been supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. What makes it that is because we love what we do. We appreciate the contribution that we can make, even if it's one dot in the sea, but it's something. There's so many dots that make the sea, right? But we have had an interesting experience in terms of fundraising. Again, the mindset of waste as this wonderful, exciting thing, it's not everyone's cup of tea. So trying to fundraise early stage, we've seen our ancestors, but it's not to say that you won't find funding institutions who are willing to have a conversation. The catch-22 is, right, do you have your DNA records? Have you vetted your ancestors? Show us proof of concept, da, 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 da. So we then had to practice a key component of the entrepreneurial journey, which is bootstrapping. So instead of spending the money on fancy stuff, it meant whatever resources that came in, we utilized our own resources to set it up so that it can be catalytic when we are exploring other funding opportunities. But it is a space that has a lot more room for growth. It is not as easy to fundraise compared to other sectors, let's say AI and tech, where opportunities tend to drop a little faster than usual. However, it's not to discourage those who may already be in the space or are looking to get into the space, but it's simply to say that where you can use the resources that you have. If it means you generate income from the consulting element and then it feeds into it so that you get to a certain stage, great. And also the kind of products and service that you are offering to the market. So we operate this as a social enterprise. As much as there's a social environmental impact, at the end of the day, we sell the compost. Okay, we process organic material on site. All of this comes with an invoice because that's the resource that has to get back into the business and ensure that the activities are coming through. One of the greatest blessings I continue to enjoy today is my team. They are young. They don't have a waste management background, but they're ginger. It is such a pleasure and a humbling experience working with a team that comes to you and says, Doc, let's try this. I was thinking we can do that, or I tried this and whatnot, because together we are co-developing, together we're being innovative, together we are creating a space for ourselves to see what can work and what cannot work. It becomes a research lab for us as well to showcase what is possible in setting up green businesses, specifically in the waste and circular economy space. Tomorrow, if they decide that they want to soar beyond, they've gained quite a lot of skills to be able to set up something similar. Are they setting up the entire value chain? Yes, no. Whatever the case is, they have identified where they could play with the skills that they've garnered and a good indication of what it takes to run it as a business. Be it that one client they have or 10 clients that they end up having as a waste collection business or as a waste processing business, that's contribution, and it's showing that it is possible to create and customize businesses along these lines, right? Then, of course, the entrepreneurial inspiration. So again, being able to come to a site where you are engaging with someone who is of a similar age or younger, and you see them because they are the ones who do the site visits, they are the ones that do the activities. I took a step back, and it's a pleasure watching them grow and develop. It's a key component as well to the business because your team, the people that you work with, if they share the vision with you, if they see how they can impact the green economy, through the good days and the bad days, you're able to really sail through. And so the work that we're doing at this particular site is that touches on SDGs 2, 7, 11, 12, and 17. So 2 being that from an agriculture perspective, we've got a food garden. So from the compost and the digester that we make, plug it into soil, and then we play around with different indigenous plants. Some they survive, some they don't. Then we wonder, okay, did we use too much compost? Did we use too much digestate? It's a living lab along those lines. The 7 is the biogas itself. So the team just make lunch on site, bring eggs and bread, Bob's your uncle, make a cup of tea. So when guests come to visit us as well, this is what they get to see. So now it's on a smaller scale, you're able to relate and see, okay, I can do this in my backyard. Okay, I can actually offer this type of service in my community and the whole 9 yards. So this is just a idea of the different types of compost we've played with, because the material we use is mainly food waste, animal waste, as well as garden waste. So food waste, like I mentioned earlier, your agro-processed material or leftovers, restaurant material, even food from events, right? So when we collect all of that material, we bring it to our site and we process it. The animal, oh, horse manure. Oh, horse and pig manure with food waste. Creme de la creme. Creme de la creme. Your grass will love you. Your plants will love you. Beautiful stuff. Of course, we've got the traditional cattle that we also utilize, and chicken, the whole 9 yards. So we've played around, and our compost is in the process of being registered under Group 2 fertilizers with the Department of Agriculture. So we don't add bells and whistles. It is material in, material out. So literally a classic case of garbage in, garbage out. So it's organics in, organics out kind of situation. Then, of course, with the biogas, similar thing, mainly cow manure. Did you know that cow manure is good for your skin? Yes, great exfoliator, nutrients, the whole 9 yards. So if you find us giving you a little exfoliator gift, don't ask questions, just know it's good for your skin. It's good for the digester, good for the compost manufacturing, and good for skincare. Right, so our site is also open to visitors, like I said, because that's the purpose. It is a demo site so that we're able to shift the mindset, show the opportunities, and everything else in between. This is my last slide. The thought-provoking point is the lessons we've picked up and continue to refine is that separation at source is key. It's key, it's key. Separation at your homes, separation at your office parks, separation at events. That is key. Because once you separate the value of that material now increases. Whether you're looking at the glass component, the organics, the metals, the recyclables, the separation increases value because now you can use it as feedstock for something else, for a new product to be made. And so, everybody in the house, this is the gospel. Hallelujah. Separation at source is key. Now, this is not just somebody else's job. Hence, my starting point is earlier that it is our responsibility. And so, when we shift our mindsets and you come and see the kind of work that we do, you can start taking such gospels into action. And we love having kids because they are the ones who will make sure that you and you as adults actually practice these activities at home. Mommy, stop it. Why are you putting it in that bin? Because that's the kind of mindset we want that drives opportunities in the green economy. And so this, ladies and gents, is just showing you an idea of what opportunities are across the waste value chain. So whether you're looking at the waste generation component or the collection, the processing, disposal, as entrepreneurs, this is where you can play, number one. As potential funders, as potential clients, when a small business comes to you and says, I'm offering waste collection service, now you can appreciate the role that they're playing across the waste diversion and processing space. Then you become part of it. Again, it might not be your core element on a daily basis, but you acquiring those services, you acquiring the products at the end of the day, you're enabling the waste value chain to become a reality. And at the end of the day, waste is a key component of the green economy that becomes the contribution to the overall activities that we want to address on the continent. So the way we design our packages, can you compost that? There's a company that can just focus on how packaging is done. Compostable, biodegradable. The reclaimers, we're all familiar with reclaimers who go through our material on a weekly basis. A good friend of mine runs a company called Urban Surfers and they focus on recyclables. So that's an example in itself. And so yeah, at the end of the day, one is simply saying, be intentional. Don't look at waste as cousin. All right. Be intentional to separate at home. Be intentional to look at those proposals or their service providers who come and show you what they're doing, the value they can add, and everything in between. And so that's why we say that the change also starts with us, because everything starts here, the central processing unit. I'll leave it there and we look forward to a wonderful set of questions and discussions. So next time you look at organic material, I want you to see my face and just remember to separate it. Thank you so much. And over to you, Program Director.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Motenzo. I think I'll be ordering in that cow manure for my skincare routine to be enhanced. Colleagues and all participants, we are going to now open the floor for both the speakers. I think there are some questions already that are flowing in on the chat box. Let me go up. There's one that says, are you game for collaborations, Dr. Gamushiroy? Yay. And I saw one that was also asking for your email and contacts because, yeah. And then let's see, there's also one that says, hi, Dr. Motenza, please advise, are there opportunities available for research or consulting SMEs within your organization? Oh, okay. And then there's one that says, okay, yeah, I think for now, let's see, let's go down. I would like you to share some slides, I think, with them. Or maybe you can also refer them to your paper as well, the content of the work that you have done. And guys, there's also a podcast that she spoke about, Not Wasting a Single Story. Please subscribe. It's on YouTube. Please follow her and subscribe. Dr. Motezo, your presentation was very interesting and relevant. Would you please share your email address? Yeah, I think so far those are the questions, but I'm itching for more questions, more technical questions would be great. There are hands, but I'm not sure if the mics are activated or not for the participants to be able to ask questions. Desiree, I see your hand is up. Are you able to unmute and speak? I think the mics are disabled. So Desiree, could you kindly just post your question on the Q&A platform, rather?
Program Director, I think that the mics are muted because the questions are in the box and all of them allude to the doctor sending them the presentation. Yeah, for some reason, those mics are off.
Yeah, most people are asking for the presentation.
Yeah.
I've noted that. But maybe also Alicia is here as well from Proudly South African to also answer some questions with regard to membership as well. How to join Proudly South African. If you've got other clarity-seeking questions, she's also on the platform. So you can ask both our speakers the questions. So there are also questions with consulting SMMEs on green economy. Nwabisa. Yeah, so I think there's one that wanted to know about consulting opportunities. And I think maybe you can also expand a little bit on access to funding, such kind of projects. You know, for our green entrepreneurs, like where do you start and how do you, like who do you approach for funding, for example? You know, let's just say maybe you have a grand idea, you know, to recycle waste in your neighborhood and solve a problem. Where do you start and how do you go about soliciting funding for your idea?
Awesome. Well, thanks to everyone for paying attention. In fact, the fact that there are no technical questions means that there's food for thought. It means that you're taking that initial step to shift the mindset because the technicalities will come in once you've gotten to a stage where you're like, okay, I see the vision, I see where I fit in, or I see where my loved one can actually attain opportunities that come with this. Now, from a consulting and collaborative perspective, we are who we are because of that. Success lies in collabs. It's then ensuring that within the first two conversations that we have, there is an alignment in terms of the vision, in terms of what you want to achieve, what we can achieve, and importantly, seeing how we complement each other. So there will be things that you do better than us and vice versa. And so the conversations should be had. Let's have them. I've plugged my email address in there. And then we become intentional to actually see what the offerings are. Because really, we are who we are because of those Afrocentric principles of working together and complementing each other's skills. Then the funding component, I would say start by being intentional with the networks you find yourselves and the groups that you get into. So whether it's looking at platforms such as the Africa Circular Economy Network, Circular South Africa, that gives you an indication of who are the players, the conversations that are happening, where are the opportunities, and importantly, who the funders are for that nature of work. So you could be looking at circularity again from a textile perspective or from a furniture perspective. And these two platforms are a wonderful entry point, right? Also, the agricultural component, there are certain principles of circularity in agriculture. And these two platforms are a catalyst. Then moving on to funding, now you've got an idea of, okay, this is the type of stream that tickles my fancy. This is where I see a gig coming through. Am I doing a gig as a consultant? Am I doing a gig as a service provider? Am I doing a gig as a processor? Also think about your market. So whatever it is that you want to do, who are you offering this service to? Are you offering it to the community, or are you offering it to a particular client within the community? Let me use the waste collection as an example. So if I have seen that opportunity for me to use bicycles, as a good friend of mine, Susan Gone, is doing in Limpopo, using bicycles to collect recycling from households, then I start charging households, say 10 Rand per collection, 40 Rand per month, 50 Rand a month, whatever the case may be. But it's up to me as well to educate the household. So from those 50s that I'm collecting from 100 households, I get to see how much I'm going to spend on the operations and how much I'll spend on, say, marketing. So that's the kind of entrepreneurial mindset that one needs to develop, because you don't want to go looking for funding without some indication of who you are, where you're at, and where you want to go. So our entrepreneurial mindset is quite key in you defining what your next thing looks like. Right, so back to that example. So I'm offering a service to the community. Once I've collected this material, am I selling it? Am I giving it away? Am I donating? Who's my market? There's a buyback center. So have the conversation with that buyback center. Say, listen, I can hook you up with cans, plastics, whatever. Let's talk about the rands and the cents. Let's make it make financial and common sense. So that individual or that manager gives you an indication of how much you get per kilogram of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now you're in a position to do the maths. You appreciate your expenses, then you appreciate how you can recover the costs from those activities. Bob's your uncle. You've got an indication of what you need to start. So I mentioned bicycle, I mentioned people, I mentioned PPE. There could be other smaller things, but look at your background and see what within your environment you would actually need to acquire and utilize. Do you need anything to do with licensing? If so, spend some time again in these networking platforms, because they always have wonderful nuggets of what needs to be done, where, and who to speak to. Another wonderful opportunity is the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, because they've got a waste management segment to it. So just checking out the initiatives they have, the events that they have, being intentional to attend. Even if it's attending online while you're doing other things, that is scoop that want to come to your door and say, hello, I'm here. So it is going to capacitate you in making those informed decisions. Then you know if you need a license, permit, or whatever. So the homework also needs to be done by you as you work towards realizing the goal that you may have identified. Then lastly, now you've got more or less a sound plan, because they're going to ask you to pitch. They're going to ask you, why should I give you money? So whether you're looking at it from a banking perspective, there's some banks which say we are intentional about the green economy. You do the homework and it's Bank A and Bank B, Charlotte. And because you've met some of these individuals or you saw them speaking at an ASIN platform or at the DFFE, it becomes a point of contact that, hey, you mentioned you've got these specific tools for green businesses. I would like to apply. And you just make sure you're ready with your pitch deck. Will you ever have a pitch deck that is absolutely 100%? Hell no. Your pitch deck will always evolve because feedback from people will continue to give you those points of refinement. You've got incubators and accelerators that not only offer that service, but also give you a platform to put your deck out there to prospective funders, because part of some of these incubators and accelerators is to have relationships with funders. Some funders are intentional with early stage, other funders are intentional with social impact. So it then depends on what type of funder is affiliated with, or maybe not affiliated, but could just have a mandate to focus on something. So you've got platforms such as Indalo Inclusive, solid. Check them out. They do have a variety of opportunities. You've got Impact Amplifier. You've got PFAN. Let me remember what the P stands for. I know there's money in it. There's an angel network involved in it. You've got the Africa Business Angel Network. We've got Fatola, based in Cape Town, but have a national footprint. We've got Green Cape as well. So Green Cape more from a knowledge material element. So if you're really getting into the collection component, you've got an idea of what research has already been done to simplify your life along those ways, right? You've got then the bigger boys, your IDCs, but they want you to be at a certain stage. So it's no longer early stage that we're talking. So if you've got into a space where you've got a proof of concept, or you've got something to show, some sort of skin in the game, then we move on to the bigger boys. But a solid entry point would be through the relationships and networks with sector-specific industry associations. You also have the South African Biogas Industry Association, really good plug to see who the players are and the kind of collaborations that you can have along those lines. Yeah, so I've said a mouthful, but I hope that you've captured the points so that you can check them out online and see how they fit into your interest and into your vision. All right, back to you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Doctor. I see there's one more. I don't know if it's a question. It says, Doctor, we are a group of ladies who are starting the biogas project to support electricity challenges. And then it just says, and biogas. So I'm assuming they want to connect because they are a new company that is starting. So kindly share your email with them so that they are able to connect with you. Is there any more questions for Doctor before she leaves the platform?
I see a question from Sheldon who's asking what emerging technologies are making waste to energy more sustainable and less polluting. When you look at incineration, it's been a swear word for a lot of people because it's when you take all your waste and then you chuck it into a fire and Bob's your uncle. It is starting to have an intentional design of what we call carbon sequestration. Because there's some countries across the continent that are like, look, I hear you, incineration is bad, but we produce so much waste on a daily basis that we really don't have that time or space. And a classic example is Repi waste to energy plant in Addis Ababa, right? So do check it out. It will give you a nice idea of what they've done along the line. But the carbon sequestration component is an element that is being explored quite a bit. How do we extract that dangerous component out? Then, of course, the byproducts. So the black waters, the black material that comes out, can it be redesigned into some sort of bitumen? So bitumen is the material that is utilized for road construction. So they are the efforts and the strides. It's just the scale at which it is happening. And you'll find pockets of these activities along the way. But in my humble opinion, I'm always a fan of anaerobic digestion. Hence, I say it's such a circular technology because organics in, organics out. Garbage in, garbage out. And the beauty is it can be a baby system or it can be a grand system. A classic example of this would be the Bio 2-watt 4-megawatt plant in Broncos Bay. So check them out. They're also open for site visits. They've got a few videos that show you the material that they utilize. So those are the big industry players that one would look and be like, yeah, these are the elders. But there's space for both large as well as small to medium-sized spaces. So I'm swaying towards my beloved AD system. Yeah.
Wonderful. With that, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you so much, Dr. Gamu, for really sharing real insights on waste management. I mean, I've learned a lot just by listening to you. It was like waste management 101. So thank you so much for that. And for some of us, we've been privileged enough to come to your plant where you are in Irene to come and see in real life, the demonstration plant that you have and how that can actually, help, even your household business. And it is quite an inspiration to really have you in our country. I mean, really doing the work that you do. So thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, we look forward to engaging further in other platforms with you. Is there more questions for Madam Logan about Proudly South African's work and how you can maybe participate in the e-commerce platforms? I know that we didn't really open up for Proudly South African to answer the questions that you may have. So I will now give you the platform once again, open it up, open the floor once again for you to ask any question that you may have. Ms. Logan is here. You want to join Proudly SA South African? You are welcome to. She's here to answer all your questions.
Program Director, I think I've been answering the questions on the Q&A chat box. That's why it's been so silent. There's been a lot of questions, I think about 22 questions. I've sent them my details and I will be sending the presentations. So I think that's why it's a bit quiet for my side.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay, so as we close, let me start by thanking Proudly South African for convening this very, very important webinar. I've personally learned a lot, and I hope our enterprises have also learned quite a lot, and also how to leverage, those opportunities that are there in the green space. Something as simple as the ways that you use on a day-to-day can turn into value. So there's so much that we've learned. And a special thank you to IDF Capital in their absence. I think they did share their numbers as well as their email for contact, so that you are able to touch base with them at any given time and get assisted. And thank you once again, Madam Waste, for those powerful contributions. So some key takeaways is the fact that the green economy is not necessarily a cost. It is a driver of resilience, competitiveness, and inclusive growth. And the fact that businesses that, anticipate this change, I mean, we even have our banks now going deep into the green space, to show that, this space is a low-hanging space for opportunities. It is ripe of opportunities. So, those companies that can adapt green ideologies and green principles for the ESG principles, because most of the funders, when they also want to fund you, they also want to look at that alignment with ESG principles. So you need to do some research as well as an entrepreneur to say, what is this ESG about? What is, how do I embrace circularity in my strategies? And in order for me to adapt, to ways in, and also get to understand what funders want, and what they're looking for. So as a final note, so we just want to thank you all for joining us today, and let us continue driving South Africa's economic transformation, as it is the lifeblood, of our country. And wishing you all a wonderful, wonderful afternoon further. I thank you.